What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics. Here, late on a Saturday night, barely awake, fresh off the Shipshewana show in Indiana. Trade night Friday night, show Saturday. Had a really good time. We'll get into the weekly sports card market update stuff here in a minute. I'm going to do some videos earlier this week, specifically talking about the couple trades that I made, some more show thoughts in general, and that sort of stuff. But I just wanted to, at a high level, one show was packed. It was very busy, I thought. Very, very busy. Very nice venue. I think they listed it as 150 plus tables. Trade night the night before, nice. Low key, there was like a decent number of people there, but the space was so big, everyone was spread out, weren't cramped together. Had way better luck at the trade night than I did at the actual show. Once again, I don't want to digress this too much. We'll dig into it a little bit more, probably Tuesday or Wednesday in videos. I'm going to do one about the trade pickups and just one about some show thoughts in general, I think. I'm not sure. But I did not actually make any purchases at the actual show on Saturday. There was a lot of stuff that I was interested in, and I sold some stuff. Nothing crazy, just a couple base cards that I moved off of when some dealers were looking through my case. But made two trades, posted about them on IG. I'll show those off once again in a separate video and go over what I gave up. I posted just the cards. I didn't actually post what I gave up for them. So we'll talk about all that stuff earlier this week. But in general, the show was fantastic. It was absolutely great meeting a bunch of people. I met a bunch of people on Friday night at the trade night that came up to say hey or flagged me down. And I met a couple people on the show floor on Saturday. So all of you that came up to me to say hello and had kind words and whatnot, thank you very, very much. It was much appreciated. That was probably... I didn't get a ton of pickups, but it was really cool meeting a lot of people. I see the same people at my local shows over and over again. No offense to my local show people. Love you guys. But it's nice meeting like people outside that circle. And I was part of the reason why I wanted to travel to this show as well. And also it was pretty close. I talked to Ryan from Card Collector 2 a couple times for a little bit. He's always super busy, obviously. But overall, really good show. Met some cool people. Had two pretty good pickups. One I'm really excited about, the Soto Auto. I mean, I posted about it on IG. So I did pick up a Soto Auto, not a Bowman Chrome, but like I said, we'll get into that. But like I said, show was packed. It was really, really busy. Really busy, I thought. I got there about 8:30 on site on Saturday, and I left about 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock. And it was busy pretty much the entire time I was there. I talked to a couple dealers that I knew that were set up there. They said they were doing pretty good, that it was pretty steady. So it seemed like pretty healthy. I'm not sure how much buying and selling was actually happening, but the show floor was busy. So once again, I don't want to dig too much in, but we'll talk about that earlier this week. So another show on Sunday, actually. I think I'm going to go to the Cleveland show in Strongsville. So if you're watching this Sunday morning, I'm probably roaming around the Strongsville show in Cleveland. I did not get all my goals accomplished this weekend, so back at it again. Let's dive in. I'm just going to touch on a few kind of more macro topics this week, diving through the various sports and try to keep this one semi under control. Before we dive in, today's video is sponsored by our good friends over at MySlabs, home of the 1% seller fee, plus some PayPal goods and services, but I've been doing more and more buying and selling on there myself personally. I know I keep saying that every week, but they are the first place that I look for cards now before eBay, and it's not really close. So a few words from our sponsor, and then we will go ahead and dive into the various sports and get into this week's video.
Tired of paying 10%, 15%, or more to sell your cards, comics, and digital collectibles? How does 1% sound? Too good to be true? Well, not anymore. MySlabs.com is the web's premier user-driven marketplace for buying and selling slabbed cards, sealed wax, and now slabbed comics and digital collectibles. So the next time you're forced to pay 10% or more to sell something from your collection, Head over to myslabs.com and join the 1% revolution.
Now, diving into the various sports, not a ton of new stuff this week. I didn't really catch much on the new stuff that really popped up on the old radar. Let's talk basketball first. This was just an interesting one that I pulled out. This is obviously not, a 7-day chart or anything. I posted about this on Saturday night. I noticed this when I got back from the show and I was researching for the video. Zion base Prism PSA 10 is now back to the last time it sold this cheap. It's down to basically $300. There's a couple sales this past couple days, 305, 310, 314, like 304. So basically $300. The last time this card was $300 was Valentine's Day 2020. Just let that sink in for a second. This is the chart that goes back to January 2020. It's as far back as it goes for Zion base Prism. Because, that set came out in basically Thanksgiving of 2019. And then it takes a little bit of time to get that stuff graded, and then they start hitting, sales data starts getting recorded. So what a wild ride this card's been in and on over the years. This got as high, let's see, it peaked at Christmas last year at $1,000 for a base Prism PSA 10. And it is now down to 300. I'm going to guess, I'll bet. I mean, I feel pretty safe in saying this. By the time we record this video next week, this card will be under $300. I'm 100% willing to say that. The pop on this is creeping towards 20,000. It's at 19,811. The news gets no better on him, and base cards and a lot of other stuff continue to go down, even on players playing halfway decent, and Zion's doing anything as far from you could possibly do as playing halfway decent. So I just thought it was very interesting to just look at this at a very, very macro level like this. You see the initial come on the scene, and then the spike up there in March as he kind of started playing well. And this is where the hobby really kind of started picking up, was early 2020. I've mentioned this before on the channel. Like, a lot of people talk about, COVID really boosted things. And don't get me wrong, 100% did. The lockdowns, the pandemic, all that stuff, 100% took the hobby to a new level. But Zion's base Prism on March 9th was $855 for a base Prism PSA 10. The pandemic in the United States had not started yet. They were still playing NBA games. We hadn't had lockdowns yet. So, I've mentioned this a ton. Sports cards were heating up before the pandemic. The pandemic just took it to overdrive. And, you see this huge dip here. This was the pandemic. Initially, if you look at all the charts and graphs early on in the pandemic, they all dive the second half of March until you get to about April 1st, and then they start going back up again. Because people were genuinely freaking out about like what was going to happen. The NBA stopped playing, all that stuff was going on. We had no idea what was really happening. Prices went up, came back down again, and then went up again. This here from May to June up until July, this summertime, this was it. This was when the hobby went crazy town. Then, the Pelicans looked like crap early in the bubble. He played bad. His stuff crashed back down again. Went down, and then built back up to the next season and to the moon, and then very quickly went right back. I mean, look at this. Whoop, and then whoop, right back down again. And then, you get the in-season ups and downs as various things in the season happen. He started playing really good in the winter, went back up, and then in general, the hobby pulled back, flattened out, and now, his injury issues and whatnot, and has flattened back out again. So it's just very interesting looking at this very macro level. It's still, because of all the pandemic nonsense, it's still really hard, I think, to draw conclusions, like to find cyclical cycles and all that, because everything just got thrown out the window for all the pandemic nonsense. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting a year from now looking back at 1+ year charts, just to kind of see the ebbs and flows and see if you could begin to figure out some patterns on, best times to buy and sell. And that stuff's always going to shift somewhat. But I just found it interesting that his base prism is now back down to February 2020 pricing. This is essentially, if this drops below, I don't know, I'm sure somewhere one has, but in general, Zion base prism has never charted below $300. What's the all-time low here on this? Low, there's like a 148, but I'm guessing that's just some one random off rogue sale in the early days, but high 1325. But in general, on average price, I'll say average price has never been below $300. I think we hit it by next weekend. We'll see. We shall see. Moving along. Miles Bridges stuff continues to go up a little bit, kinda. It's kind of bouncing around a little bit. Goes down, goes back up, goes down, goes back up. Here's the thing with Miles Bridges. If you bought into him back here during the summer build-up, you had a little Miles Bridges PC going, you were getting these things for a couple $100, and they're $500 now. I mean, we all know what I'm going to say. I'd be selling. There, maybe you hold one, but we all know what's going to happen. Maybe it keeps creeping up a little bit. Eventually, it's going to pull back down again. You've more than doubled your money if you bought in during the summer. Take your profits. Move on to the next thing, in my opinion. Maybe hold one, like I said. If you have a bunch of Miles Bridges stuff, I would at least be cherry picking off ones that I don't really care about and taking the money. And maybe holding one or two aside if you want. 100% get that. I preach that all the time. But in general, I'd be moving Miles Bridges as I have him. And they've played the Cavs twice. I've watched him twice. He looks absolutely fantastic. He's a ton of fun to watch. That team's fun to watch, but we all know what happens. This stuff spikes and then it pulls back again. It's probably what's going to happen here. Unless the only way that doesn't happen is if you think he has an Ohtani-like season. To use that as a comparison sake to go back to last basketball season where Ohtani just kept performing and was doing generational things. I just don't know if I see Miles Bridges doing that. As good as a season as he's having. I just don't know that a $500 Miles Bridges PSA 10 silver is sustainable unless they make a deep playoff run or something like that. Which, I guess could happen. It's feasible, but the East is pretty tough. East is pretty tough. I'm gonna blow everyone's mind here. I'm really gonna blow people's mind here. I think this is the first time ever in the however long now I've been doing this for, a year and a half. I have a hockey card that I pulled. A lot of people predicted this. I am not a hockey guy. I have not watched a hockey game in I don't even know how many years. I've been to some hockey games in high school. My friend had season tickets. And to date myself a little bit, we would go see Lemieux and Yager play in Pittsburgh. The Penguins games. I went like 2 or 3 times. Ton of fun. Love hockey in person. I know little to nothing about hockey or cards or current players. I know Connor McDavid's good. I know Sidney Crosby's good. Besides that, that's it. But I just noticed that this popped, and hockey in general has been popping. And like I said, I know plenty of people out there have been predicting this for a while now. With hockey moving back to ESPN, ESPN is pumping hockey. And you are seeing it in the card prices. Now, I just pulled one because I don't even know the names, but this is Conor McGregor Young Guns PSA 10. And I went back 30 days on this. Over the last 30 days, this card is up 50%. 2,500 to 3,800. Pop 2,100 on this. Pretty much the best player. I mean, definitely the best player in hockey. I know that much. And I know that he's approaching some all-time stuff. I know that much. Beyond that, we're going to stop talking about hockey before I paint myself into a corner that I cannot get back out of again. But Connor McDavid and hockey in general is definitely trending in the right direction. Whether that continues, I don't know. But if you got into hockey with anticipation of ESPN getting the rights back over the summer, a lot of hockey stuff seems to be performing pretty well. Pretty well. All right, enough hockey talk, because like I said, I'll get myself into trouble because I don't know what I'm talking about. A little check-in on Mahomes here. This is his optic base, optic hollow, and red and yellow, all in PSA 10. I went back 2 weeks on this one because they had the Giants game since that last miserable game. Still kind of doing meh. Base is down 20%, down to 1,200 now. Hollow and red and yellow are flat, 2%, 0%. So that, at this point anyways, optic hollow Mahomes seems to be holding the line. Silvers are still slowly trending down. This is PSA 10 Silver Prism is down 16%, once again, over the last 14 days on this. And PSA 9 down about 6%. So still trickling down. PSA 10's below 7K. PSA 9's below 1,700. Obviously, for me personally, if I'm looking for one, I'd be looking for a PSA 9. That's just the more acceptable price point for me. I still don't know if I'm buying in at this price. I didn't pull any charts for this. I predicted on Twitter that I think Beckham goes to the Chiefs. I have absolutely no knowledge. I'm not Adam Schefter. I'm just guessing. The Chiefs receivers suck beyond Tyreek Hill. I could see him sliding into the Chiefs and the Chiefs really wanting him. I think it's the Chiefs or the Ravens, personally, I think is where Beckham goes. And I have a feeling he plays pretty well. Part of the reason I can see him going to the Ravens is, one, they could also desperately use a wide receiver. And two, they still get to play the Browns twice. And I have a feeling Beckham would really like that, based on how all that stuff went down. Mahomes' dip is definitely intriguing. I still just don't know if it's at the point that I want to get into one. If I could trade into a PSA 9, maybe I would, depending on what I had to give up. But I don't know. I'm not going out of my way to do it. If someone presented me with a deal or was like, hey, I like this stuff, and it happens to comp out around a Mahomes, and it was stuff I was willing to move, I would consider it, just because I have no Mahomes and his stuff still is fairly liquid. A lot of people were looking for it at Chip Shawana. But that's where his prices currently sit. Still a little out of my range for at least paying cash for it. Not where I want to be. And we may look back in 6 weeks and go, God, we're stupid. Why weren't we just buying the Mahomes at $1,700? It's a $2,100 card again. If they rattle off a bunch of victories in a row, that could absolutely happen. And, we'll see. I'm just not willing to pull the trigger yet on it. There's other things I'd rather be putting $1,700 cash into anyway. Kyler Murray, finishing out a couple last football things here. Well, like I said, we'll kind of wrap this up pretty quick. I had a very long couple days in the car and some late nights. Friday night, when I got back after trade night, I hopped on Dakota's live stream for a couple hours and stayed up way later than I should, and then got woken up Saturday morning from the people in the room next to me being louder than they probably should have for 6:30 in the morning, and got woke up about 90 minutes sooner than I wanted to. So I am pretty beat. Kyler Murray stuff dipping a little bit as well. This is his Prism base, down 17%. Silver down 28%. This is over the last 14 days as well. Now, no silver has sold since 10/28. So that's over a week at this point now. But you can see that downward slide leading up to it. And it's not like anything's happened to make this go up again. Kyler Murray is really rinse and repeating last season. Come out like gangbusters, look amazing, get dinged up, play like crap, and now he may not even play on Sunday. There's rumors that, he very well may be inactive with, I forget. Hopkins has a hamstring issue. I forget what Kyler's injury is off the top of my head. But it's literally a rinse and repeat of last season. Kyler dipping pretty hard, right along with, and same situation here, Justin Herbert, PSA 10 base Prism. I wanted to see silvers on this. I went back 2 weeks, none have sold. So similar situation. People just aren't willing to sell on the dip, so they're just holding. His base Prism is down 20%. I don't know what the silver would be down, because there really just aren't any moving right now. Kind of the same situation here, except he's not hurt. He's just been playing fine. And as we talked about in Friday's NBA video, playing fine is not good enough to sustain these high prices. You have to be playing otherworldly to be able to sustain strong value. It's just the way the market works right now. If you're not balling out regardless of sport, your cards are going to start to dip. We're seeing that with a lot of NBA players right now, and we're also seeing it in the NFL. So all it takes is for Herbert to have 2 good games again, beat the Chiefs again, whatever, and I'm sure his stuff will go right back up again. This is kind of how it works. But I feel like it's just going to be these ebbs and flows until the playoffs start in the NFL. Same with NBA, probably. Guys will get too low, then they'll spike back up. They'll have a hot week or something, then they'll spike back up again. But in general, the trends around are, I did this video earlier this week about base cards declining. More and more base cards are going lower and lower at auction. I do keep seeing that across the board. Players, sets, whatever. Nothing seems to be excluded from it. Even older stuff is, well, not super older stuff. Like Giannis base Prism's still doing fine. But like Tatum base is still struggling. Part of that could be that, the Celtics look like crap and a lot of drama about them. So I don't know. We'll see where things go from here. Videos this week. I'll be doing one recapping the deals that were made at the Ship Shawana show and the thought process behind them. I will probably do one with some general thoughts on the show in general, stuff that I was looking at, stuff that I couldn't pull the trigger on. I'll tease it a little bit. It was a frustrating show. I'll just leave it at that, and then we'll get into it more in a different video. I'm also going to do, which I did one of these about 6 or 8 months ago, kind of a look in the mirror type thing. Kind of evaluate where each one of us is in regards to financially, how deep are you into the hobby, and are you making the correct decisions? Like I said, I did a video like this about 6 or 8 months ago, and I feel it's important to kind of circle back and just kind of do that video like every 6 or 8 months, just to kind of remind people and kind of put it in people's heads. Don't ever get in too deep on this stuff, because you just never know. So we're gonna have a little chit chat about that as well. I really want to do that at some point in time this week. So that's all I have for you guys for this week. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff down below. I'll be at the Strongsville show this morning, and then the other big thing going on this week is this coming Saturday. If you're in the Cleveland area, 101 is doing another trade night. So look forward to that. I will be at the 101 trade night. I'm 95% sure I'll be there unless something crazy happens this week. So I hope to see some of you guys and girls at the 101 trade night, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace.